If you need more evidence, read the book. I'm not a book burner. I'm not somebody, you read the book. It's garbage. We wanted to give you a taste here. We wanted to establish the clear pattern of dishonesty. But why is the real question? Why? What is the reason behind it? That's what we try to do on this show. We go back to that one question. Why? Well, to answer why, you have to look at who he really is. Who is he? He's not who the media says he is, and he's not who the detractors say he is. The media says he's a God professor of gospel history. No, he's not. He's got a PhD in gospel history. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. That is not who his detractors say. He's a Muslim. No, he's not. He is a Muslim, but that's not what his motivation is. It begins with Aslan Media. Now, why would this guy who's so focused on God and religion, because that's what he is, he's a professor, why does he have Aslan Media? Go back to what he's teaching. What is he teaching sometimes at Drew? He's teaching the art of revolution and protest through literature and music. That's what he's doing. So he's producing literature and media. Now, who is Aslan Media? Well, they're operating under the fiscal sponsorship of this group, the Levantine Cultural Center. Well, who are they? Well, they're easy to figure out. They're partners with Code Pink on the founding committee of a project called Narrative 4. What's Narrative 4? Well, that's a project dedicated to creating social change, and that was that's a project of the Tides Center. This is starting to look familiar, isn't it? He's also a board member on the National Iranian American Council. Now, who are they? Well, they're funded by George Soros. He's also on the board of directors of this. This is great. Let's take our plowshares, take our swords and pound them into plowshares. So the Plowshares Fund, which is launched with money from the Tides Foundation. Now, Tides funnels money to the Plowshares, and now the Plowshares sends it back to Tides, and they can fund other progressive groups like Media Matters. Plowshares also has helped fund the launch of the Center for American Progress. Plowshares also donates heavily to the International Crisis Group. Isn't that great? Oh, that's Samantha Power. Which brings us back to the International Crisis Group, the responsibility to protect the Gaza flotilla. Remember when Code Pink was there? It's funny. It's funny that all he wants to do is talk to you about Jesus. Does he now? Whenever somebody wants to change history, it usually comes back, when you really look into it, to the same cast of characters. Unless they're being demonized. If they're being demonized by the mainstream media, you know none of these people are involved. If they're being hailed as a god, you know the ends justify the means, progressives are back. You know, the ones who believe it's okay to lie as long as in the end the result is the one that you desire. So forget about this guy being a phony Muslim or a phony scholar. Who is he? He's a radical progressive. He is also hardcore anti-Israel. The 2010 flotilla, remember Code Pink? Yeah. He said about this particular point in history in the world, he said, at what point are rational, peace-loving, Israel-supporting people of the world going to stand up and say, enough? How much longer are we to bear the Hezbollah propaganda? That's an interesting phrase. That places the image of the state of Israel above its well-being. See, he knows what's better for Israel than Israel does. I've heard that before. I think the president said it. How much longer are we going to accept the cries of victimization from the strongest, and get this, richest nation in the Middle East? It's no longer Saudi Arabia, it's Israel, to this historian and PhD histories of religion. How much longer are we going to put up with a policy of collective punishments that has led up to the slow starvation of 1.5 million people? He also is mainstream, at least with the mainstream media and this administration and with George Soros and with the Tides Foundation. He thinks the Muslim Brotherhood is wonderful. Quote, on the Muslim Brotherhood, make no mistake, however current uprising in Egypt turns out, there can be no doubt that the Muslim Brotherhood will have a significant role to play in post-Mubarak Egypt, and that is a good thing. In an interview on the Muslim Brotherhood website, he said, quote, I decided to study religion in school even though I planned on being a writer because of my experience at Santa Clara University, a Jesuit university steeped in the promotion, you can hear it coming, can't you, of social justice. The Jesuits taught me whatever I did for a living, it must benefit society, it must be for the greater good, and I must work towards justice and peace. Justice and peace. He said these words very carefully to the Muslim Brotherhood's official English language. Why? Well, I think Americans really need to understand the Muslim Brotherhood is the Freedom and Justice Party. But how does freedom and justice come about with Muslim Brotherhood? They believe, according to their own websites, the only way to achieve freedom and justice is with Sharia law. See, this guy is very good at speaking two languages at once. He's a media guy. He's a media guy. He's a radical. There's a difference between the Catholic understanding of social justice and the Muslim Brotherhood understanding of social justice and freedom. Even a difference between the George Bernard Shaw social justice. I mean, he told us, why bother keeping somebody alive if there's nobody, that's benefiting from their life in society? There's a difference. Even the Catholic version of social justice, which I'm sure he doesn't really even understand, that if there's one God, he sorts things out. And that one God, why would he let his son be crucified? Why would he let his son, Catholics believe this, why would he be crucified? To set the example. There's a difference between man's justice and God's justice. But see, he seemed to miss that in his Catholic education. Make no mistake, it's not because he is a Muslim. He's not writing a book slamming Jesus because of his Muslim beliefs. He's not writing it because he's an amazing historian and has uncovered some incredible new facts that the world has to hear. Make no mistake, he is a progressive radical. Above all else, he wants to change our understanding of history and our relationship to God to create social change. That's what he's teaching at Drew University. I mean, at least when he's a visiting professor occasionally at Drew University, the class has chosen, they know what they're walking into, to witness the art of protest in literature, film, art, and music. What he is currently doing, he's acting it out. His goal is to cause doubt in believers of Jesus and ultimately have them leave their faith like he did, so progressives will have more devoted followers who can do whatever their heart's desire tells them to do. Change our history, change our traditions. That's what this is really all about. And the good news is for Reza, bad news for us, he's not trying to do this alone.
And Barack knows that we are going to have to make sacrifices. We are going to have to change our conversation. We're going to have to change our traditions, our history. We're going to have to move into a different place as a nation to provide the kind of future that we all want desperately for our children.